the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And Disney.
Well, I'm looking on a computer screen here, and I'm seeing a lot of people coming into the 6 screens today. Well, I'm glad you're with us. It's a beautiful day up here in Boston. Boy, I'll tell you, if you could be up here, you would be doing the happy dance. It's just nice and cool and crisp and sunny. And I hope it's nice where you are too. Now, we have a program here on Sunday, the 6 Screen Sunday, and we get into things a little bit different. We can talk about scriptures. We can talk about prophecy. We can talk about anything you want relating to theology. So I want you to bear that in mind. We don't do that on Saturday night. People get a little funny about it. They feel like, oh boy, I'm still kind of wiggling my way loose, and I don't want someone to jump in and start feeding me a bunch of stuff that I'm going to have a hard time learning. But if y'all that way disposed, and you want to learn more about God after leaving the Watchtower, well, we're glad you're with us today. Well, my name's Rick Farron, and I know we have Anne-Marie on here with us. Hello, Anne-Marie.
Hello, my brother Rick. Happy 6 Screen Sunday and happy anniversary.
Well, you're absolutely right. Yeah, today is the 11th anniversary. Susan and I were married 11 years ago, and thank you for saying that. I'm really happy you remembered that. My goodness, that's amazing. Now, the thing is, we only had one fight in 11 years. It's still going on. No, I'm only kidding. I have to tell you the truth. Susan and I have not even had one argument. I'm serious. She is such an easygoing woman. I have never seen a person like this. I grew up with girls. I had 3 sisters, no brothers. I had 4 daughters, 1 son. I've been around girls. I got nieces all over the place. And women can be, girls can be, a little rough around the edges at times. Not all. But I have to tell you, Susan's never been rough around the edges. Never, ever, ever. She is a very, very wonderful woman. And I'm very happy that we've been married here for 11 years. And thank you, Anne-Marie. Well, Anne-Marie. Yes, Susan.
Can I put my 2 cents in?
Of course.
I just wanted to say that it is our anniversary, 11 years. And Rick is the kindest, there is no other man on the earth like him. He's kind, he's good, he's generous, he's better than you think. I mean, there is not one thing that I could point to and say, Rick is this, Rick is that. There's nothing. He's a good man. You will not meet a better man on this earth. And I want to say how grateful I am that we've been married for 11 years. So, thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Susan. Your anniversary check will be in the mail. I mean, I can just hand it to you, I guess. Yes.
I got to say, I concur with that assessment 1,000%. And it's just sick and sad that someone would call up months ago or years ago and say that you pushed Inez down the stairs and you killed her. If people, I know you were quite well, and if people knew how loving you were, they would never think that was at all possible. It's just too bad there are people that are very, very small that are trying to bring down a big man, and you are a big man. You've made a lot of wonderful inroads in people's lives. You've cast that bright light into the darkness of the Watchtower. There are many people that would have committed suicide if it wasn't for 6 Screens and you and Sue. And I know a lot of people are living happier lives because you started 6 Screens. So I want to say that I'm very, very pleased to say happy anniversary. I'm glad I had a part in that. And I'm just thrilled for you and Sue, and me and Connie. We love you both with all our hearts. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Dick. In fact, Dick Borgie, folks, was actually the officiate. He officiated our wedding and gave a beautiful sermon. And we always look to him as the man that got us married. And we really appreciate him as well. And Connie, my goodness gracious, we have so many good friends. And I'll tell you, I'm glad Dick brought it up. Yeah, we've had people calling into the program, and I call them the drunken Bethelites. Maybe not all the time they are, but I do know really for a fact at times they are drunken Bethelites. Maybe not all the time. But last night we had some people calling in too, and they use the most filthy language you would ever hear. And they tried to come into our program last night and sabotage it, but we got certain systems set up here now to safeguard it. But once in a while, they do slip through before we get them. But in fact, when Dick was mentioning, yes, in fact, my former wife, Inez, and people remember her too. And of course, she died. And yes, I was accused of pushing her down the stairs. Now, this is an ugly thing. Now, Eric. We all know Eric. We love Eric. He's down there. He's a former Jehovah's Witness. He has a program on this network. And Eric was telling me the other day, and I'm sure he'd tell you folks as well, so I'm not saying something he wouldn't want me to say. But he had an ex-witness call him. Now listen to this. Eric had an ex-witness call him and say that she was told by God that Eric killed his wife, Desiree. Now, what is going on with this? Can you imagine? Desiree just died 2 months ago. Eric wasn't too rocked by it. He knows the woman is a little flaky. But can you imagine that there's some, I'm going to tell you something. There are some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that are pretty nasty. And, I'm wondering, did the Watchtower make them nasty? Or were they nasty before they went in the Watchtower and made them worse? These are things I think about. Maybe Anne-Marie has the answer to that. What do you think, Anne-Marie?
I think the Watchtower happens to attract those that are arrogant, selfish, gossipy, judgmental, low self-esteem, have mental issues, emotional issues, and the Watchtower presents itself as the answer to all their problems. But unfortunately, you cannot join a satanic, corrupt organization where that kind of behavior is encouraged and not get worse. And yes, a lot of people have come out of the Watchtower, but if you're an ugly person, you're still an ugly person. And that is so terrible what anyone would say about you and about our brother Eric. That is terrible. And I know you took such good care of Inez. I remember you saying when you came home from work every day, you never knew what you were going to find because Inez had so many issues, and you were always so patient and so loving. And I know, and we all know, Eric cherished his beautiful wife and Desiree, and was devastated when she died. And people don't need to be ugly. And if you're an ugly person, please don't spread your poison. That's disgusting. Thank you, Rick.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, just a real quick comment. When I heard this, I just had to say, your people have made false murder accusations against witnesses. That the Watchtowers murdered people with no evidence. So I find it kind of funny. Or Johnny the Bethelite.
Well, wait a minute, my Mike.
If you want to accuse anyone on this show, on this forum, of making false accusations, why don't you go ahead and give an example? Because there is
I just did. Johnny the murdered Johnny the Bethelite. That's my example.
That is my personal belief. And there is a term in legalese called preponderance of the evidence. And when we look at the facts, and other people, not just Johnny the Bethelite, other people in Watchtower have mysteriously, quote unquote, just disappeared. And you might say,
go tell the authorities then.
Don't put your crap on us. Don't, please. I'm not in the mood to put up with this shit.
Mike, I'd like to mention too that Johnny himself feared that this might happen, that this would be the case, and he had pointed out others that had disappeared. And again, the preponderance of evidence showed that it might have been the Watchtower. So we're not saying take it to the bank and cash it, but we're saying there is a good possibility with the evidence and the information that Johnny left us with, that he maybe not necessarily told you.
Well, you know what? I hope you're right. I hope they whacked him, and you can prove it, and that'll be the end of the Watchtower. Oh, there you go.
I hope he wasn't whacked, and I hope that, you know, he just passed away in a peaceful way. I don't wish that on anyone. I don't need to be proven right. I just want to say that the evidence from what he has said to me, that's what he said, and I tend to agree with it. But
right, but no, I mean, if they murdered
agree,
but that would be the end of the Watchtower. You guys want to destroy the Watchtower? If you can prove that they murdered somebody, Watchtower's done. They're done. They're over. They're gone.
Rick, Mike is breaking up, and I can't really hear what he said. Can you hear him?
Yeah, no. In fact, he says that, you know, he says that we have accused the Watchtower of murdering. Now, I believe that every one of us, we have our thoughts and opinions. You know, we feel that. And then let me just ask Mike here a question. Now, Mike, you're a sharp guy. Really, you're a sharp guy. You know a lot about a lot of things. I bet you have a very high IQ. And I say that respectfully. But what I want to say to you, Mike, is you can kind of connect dots. I mean, you've been doing that all your life. So just stop and think. Now, do you think the mafia would kill people?
Well, of course, Rick. We have evidence. We know for a fact that they've killed people.
All right. Do you think that there's many people that have been killed and never found, and nobody even knows the mafia killed them?
Well, of course. I'm not denying that.
Well, how is it now? Do you think the organization, the Watchtower organization, would be pretty angry if someone was exposing their nastiness and they were going to?
Well, I don't want to take over your show. I just maybe I shouldn't have said anything. I'm just saying. Okay, I'll give you an example. If the Watchtower was in the business of whacking people that they don't agree with, why haven't they whacked you? Or why didn't they whack Barbara Anderson? Why didn't they whack Ray Franz?
Because at least I put a police report out. I went to the.
Well, I'm just saying, Rick. You can't. It's wrong to make accusations against people that you don't have any evidence. That's all I'm saying. You know, I don't want to. You know.
Hey, wait, hold on, Mike. This is done every day in the court systems of the United States. Prosecutors bring people in, sometimes not having full evidence.
Well, if you charge somebody with a crime, you have to go through a grand jury. There has to be some evidence. You can't just prosecute somebody with no evidence.
I understand what you're saying, but in other words, people go into the court system with just circumstantial evidence. I mean,
Rick, here's a very simple question, and I won't say no more. Do you think there's enough evidence to charge the Watchtower organization with murder? Yes or no? It's a very simple question.
I'll answer that question in a month. We have a person coming on that's going to be. Okay. Now, listen to me. Listen, I mean, you don't listen. How do you reason with a person that's unreasonable, friends? You can.
I'm unreasonable. You're making fun of somebody that.
Hold on, my Mike. You're having a panic attack here. Go ahead.
Sorry, Rick. Sorry, Mike. Having a speculation or investigating a conspiracy is not the same as categorically saying this happened or that happened. Rick I've listened to Rick many times, as you all have. He's never said this has definitely happened. He's speculated. It's an allegation. It's a speculation, you know? And there's nothing wrong in that. So, yes, we want concrete proof. And I strongly believe that Watchtower could easily do that. They have enough money and enough clout to do something like that. But, you know, it's not the same, you know, so it's not a fair comparison that you're making. It's just merging two separate issues here. But that's all I wanted to say, Rick, you know?
Yeah, well, no,
Maverick.
Maverick?
Yeah, Anne-Marie. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for that comment. I'm the only one that directly said, I know in my heart, I believed in my gut that Watchtower had this man killed, because there were times we could hear the fear in his voice when he called in. We could hear that he said, I think they know who I am, if anything ever happens to me. But he rarely said anything to infer that he felt his life was in danger. And don't forget, his best friend at Bethel had a girlfriend at Bethel, and his best friend's girlfriend was in with them trying to help expose the Watchtower. And suddenly, all of a sudden, she was gone and nobody knew where she was. Nobody ever found her. This is not an isolated situation. And they spy on people, they wiretap people, they spy on your social media. They do all kinds of things in a sneaky way behind closed doors. They are not incapable of any level of evil, because we know that the evil that they do clearly shows that they don't care. They don't have a sense of boundaries or crossing the line. And what really got me is how scared Johnny was. He calls Rick. He was stuck in Warwick with his friends, and he said, Rick, we got to get out of here. He was scared, and Rick got them out. And then Johnny called Rick from Brooklyn, relieved. I made it, Rick. He was so happy. But don't forget, he was still under the control of Bethel. And Watchtower still had brownstones that they owned in Brooklyn. And in my mind, I surmised that he went to stay in one of those brownstones. And then all of a sudden, Rick and Susan never heard from him. We have to remember. And I heard Johnny tell me directly through my own ear when we were talking on the phone, he considered Rick and Susan his spiritual parents. He relied on them. He confided in them. He talked to them all the time, called them at all hours. He was always in close communication. And for him to call Rick all happy, I made it, Rick, I'm out, I'm back in Brooklyn. He was so happy. And then all of a sudden, nothing. Johnny would never do that. Never. Now, what is the most logical answer? Proof or no proof? How easy would it be? Because he said he knew they knew who he was. How easy would it be for some brother to say, hey, meet us, we're going to pick you up at a certain time, we're going to do this or that? How easy would it be to lure Johnny to get into a car or a vehicle or whatever and just do whatever they probably did? Because it is not sensical to assume that he would just be off the face of the earth. And the coffee shop where he hung out all the time so much that the barista knew who Rick and Dick were talking about when they finally went to Brooklyn and started trying to find him. They found the coffee shop, and the lady said, oh, yeah, he always sits in that back corner over there. I know who you're talking about. And all of a sudden he's gone. That was his place where he would go. Nobody knows where he is. Nobody knows what happened. Screw proof. Do you know how many people disappear and maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years later they find the body? And it happens. Nobody can say, they didn't do that.
I agree with you, what you're saying. I feel the same. I feel that this is dodgy. It smelt bad from the all information coming in. It did feel weird to suddenly have that. And they, as we said, they are very, very capable of doing that.
Of course they are. Of course they are. What's their excuse for the evil that they do? What did one guy, I don't know if he was governing body or a helper, but on jw.org or on broadcasting, I don't know which, that guy got up and I saw the video where he said, our foremost concern is to protect God's organization. And in everyday language, he was saying that our main concern is to protect our organization. Doesn't care about God, Jesus, the truth, the Bible, or the rank and file. It's to protect their evil, tyrannical, dictatorial organization. It's all about the organization. And Johnny was bringing stuff out. And don't forget, the last time he came on the 6 screens was January 19th, 2019. And that show is Jehovah's Underground. And you guys can look in the archives on Rick's page, 6 screens, look up that date, or go on his SoundCloud. January 19th, 2019, Jehovah's Underground. And remember Johnny was just disgusted and so sad and so broken. He said that he and his guys that worked with him had found on the deep, dark web that Watchtower higher-ups were involved in some real nasty stuff, specifically child trafficking, pedophilia, all kinds of child pornography, and they were in it. And that was the last time we heard of him. It was after that he called Rick and said, "We got to get out of here." He was scared. He was scared. And when he came back to Brooklyn and called Rick and said, "I made it, safe," he was happy. And then all of a sudden he's gone. I think they let him think he was safe. And I think they let him feel he was safe, tell Rick he was safe. And then they did whatever they did, which is what I personally believe. Rick never said it. He said he feels or that it could have happened. But if anybody's going to
I'm laughing. I'm really laughing. It's so funny.
I really wanted to say something now, because if you're going to see if somebody is guilty of murdering somebody, just look at the Jehovah's Witness track record. Read the Crisis of Conscience with Raymond Franz. What did they do? They know that it's wrong to not accept the blood, but still they don't allow Jehovah's Witness to take blood. Young women, 26 years old, they die giving birth because they're not allowed to take blood. And they know it's wrong. They voted about it, and they do know it's animal blood in the Bible. If they can kill so many people with the blood issue that has died for no reason, do you not think they could kill 1, 2, or 3 people who would give them a bad reputation? Thank you. That's all from me.
I'm really happy that sister from Sweden came on, because she's right on target. Anne Marie is quite on target. And I want to add that about 15 years ago, there was a murder at Bethel, and Rick had a sergeant detective come on, and Rick interviewed him, and he was supposed to come on the next week to tell us more about his investigation, and we never heard from him again either. I definitely believe that Johnny the Bethelite is dead, and I believe the Watchtower killed him. And as Rick would say, don't sign it and take it to the bank and try to cash it, which means allegedly, this is what he feels has happened. When you say allegedly, it simply means you can't prove it in a court of law, but your gut feeling and your brain tells you, yeah, they eliminated him. He's gone. We're never going to hear from Johnny the Bethelite again. And I just want to add something else to the conversation from a few moments earlier. Before there was 6 screens, Rick had upper room ministry that he had in his house. And I used to attend that. I was attending it for a year or two before 6 screens started. And I would get a box of Dunkin' Donuts donuts, and I would go there to Rick's house, and Rick would be upstairs doing his sermon, and I would sit down and have a coffee with Inez. And she would tell me countless times what a wonderful, supportive husband he is. Now, I heard that, if you pardon the expression, right from the horse's mouth. I got that from her. Not only did I get it from her, I saw it. I saw it in person. I saw how he treated her. So for anyone to try to discredit Rick by saying, that he pushed his wife down the stairs, that is so absurd. It's just crazy. Just goes to show you how Satan is in a lot of people's minds and hearts. Certainly, it's in the Watchtower. Satan controls that lying organization, and the people that support that lying organization are the ones that call up at night. And they really upset me last night on me and Connie's program when I used that filthy language. I mean, every once in a while, somebody slips, but the kind of language that they use is so sick and so perverted. Rick Farron is the best there is. That's just how it is. You can believe me or not. I mean, I don't get paid by Rick to be on Six Screens. I don't get any money from him, for saying this. It's just the truth. The guy's spending a fortune on Six Screens every month. That's for other people. He won't take a cent in. He's giving out books. Yeah, you get the books for free, but he's paying the postage. That's expensive, and running those programs, that's expensive. And what we're going to be doing on August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, that convention. Yeah, you're paying for the rooms, but who's paying for the auditorium? Who's paying for the police detail? Who's paying for all that? That's coming out of Rick and Sue's pocket. That's how much love he has for other people. It's the same kind of love Jesus had. He has that kind of love. It really irritates me when someone like Mike comes on, although he has an opinion and he can state it. He kind of said, well, we said that the Watchtower killed Johnny the Bethelite. No, we never said that. We said it's our gut feeling that he did. We've said, and Rick has said this many times, don't take it to the bank and try to cash it because we don't have the proof. But in my gut feeling, Johnny the Bethelite is dead, and he's dead because he knew too much. That's my gut. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much for saying that. And I don't say it too often, but I spent 10 days and nights with Rick and Susan a while back. And I can tell you that what you see is what you get. Rick is exactly the way you see him on 6 Street. He's generous, he's kind, he's thoughtful. He's a very calm, relaxed, and very patient person. And I just like, wow, he's the real deal. And so is our precious sister Susan. And anybody that wants to smear any kind of crap on them, I can't take it. I'm very defensive of them. I love them very much. And they're he's doing this out of the goodness and dedication of his heart. He's so faithful. I remember so many times Rick did, he did shows on Saturday from the emergency room, from the hospital when Inez was going through so much. He's been so faithful, and Inez always supported him. And I remember one time they were traveling, and it was in the middle of a storm, and he was doing the 6 Screens out, in a motel room. It's amazing. And he's not a liar. I'm the one that has really pushed that. I feel so clear in my gut what they did. And it's not the only one. Johnny is not the only one to just disappear. There was a sweet, sweet sister that used to come on periodically, and she was very hesitant to tell something that she knew. She finally broke down and told the whole audience. She called in on a Saturday night, and she told about a group of witnesses that were very scared. They lived in the country in the middle of nowhere, and the pressures that was put on them. And a couple of the witnesses were trying to expose what was going on with Watchtower. And she said they know. They all knew that they were killed, and they just dispersed. She said, we're scared to say anything because we don't want to end up missing too. And, after a while, she never came back on. And she was scared too. She had that same trembling, hesitant fear in her voice when she was talking about just how far Watchtower is willing to go. Because what's their number one priority? Protect the organization. If anybody is a threat, I believe they will get rid of them one way or another. If this fellowshipping doesn't work, if smearing their good name and telling lies about them doesn't work, that's why they're so adamant about don't talk to any apostates. They don't want you to listen to one word an ex-Watchtower member has to say. But if they think that maybe that's not going far enough, I have no qualms in saying I don't put anything past those evil people. They're evil. Do you really think that evil says, oh, gee, I can't go that far. That's wrong. I don't think they have a concept of right and wrong. All they do, in my mind, is anything they have to do to protect their money, their organization, their reputation. They don't care. They obviously don't care about human life. They don't. That's why they want you to bleed to death. They believe in blood sacrifice. That's why they're involved with protecting pedophiles and threatening the children who were victims of, brothers or sisters that attacked that, threatening their parents, don't tell anything or else you bring reproach on Jehovah. And there are parents that have tried and pleaded with the elders, help me, this brother did this to my 5-year-old child. No, you keep your mouth shut or else you'll be disfellowshipped. The same way they treat, sisters that have been raped in the organization. They blame her. They do twisted things. And what is Rick's number one thing? To expose the Watchtower for what they are. And that's what he does bravely.
Can I jump back on Anne-Marie? There's something else that I really think I need to say to the audience. And it's this. I asked Rick personally, how many people did you know that you helped from not committing suicide? And because I asked him, he told me it was quite a number. He'll never say that on the air or pat himself on the back, but it's true. And I'll tell you something else. Run this program that he does every Saturday night and Sunday. It costs him between $500 and $600 a month. Now you add that up over 20 years. I know inflation that it would be less, but I did the math just in my head. It's over $100,000 for other people. And what does he say? Don't send me any money. I'm fine, right? What other televangelist would ever say that? Never, ever you're going to hear that. They'll send money, send your seed, all this stuff. Rick's different. He's legit. He's legit. And I hope the audience that hears this, that you tell somebody about Six Screens. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff on YouTube that you can watch, done really well. But this is the only venue that I know that you can call up and say whatever you want and say your feelings. It's cathartic and lets people realize they're not alone. And I think something else. Rick gets up at 4:00 in the morning, Saturday morning, to prepare for this show. So he's pretty much wasted by the time my program is over. And it's a lot of effort. Does anybody realize the thousands of phone calls he gets every single week? It's just unbelievable. And he takes care of Sue, and he takes care of his business, and he takes care of Six Screens. That guy doesn't do a single thing for himself. I mean it. I mean, I've known him well for 20 years. He doesn't do anything for himself. That's just the kind of guy he is. So it's preposterous when people throw accusations and aspersions his way, because it's just wrong. Thank you, Emery.
Hello. I just got another quick comment. I've been thinking about this. When you guys can prove that they whacked Johnny, I can't wait for them to have a Dateline episode on this. And I'm thinking they could call it Murder in Paradise, or maybe Murder in a Spiritual Paradise. I'm sure it'll be get a lot of views.
Well, Mike, this is Rick, and I want to thank everyone for the good comments, and I really appreciate that. But I want to say to Mike, I'm sorry
not to laugh, Rick. I'm sorry.
No, just listen, Mike, for a second. You're so eager to deny something. You're so eager to do that. I mean, it's really, you accuse us of being so eager to expose something, but you're 10 times worse. You were totally in denial. But here's...
If they murdered somebody, I'll accept it. If they did it, you have to prove, I would accept it. I'm just...
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Well, okay, but here's what I wanted to say. I was in touch, and we hope to have the person on that has spent many, many years in the Watchtower, and they've cut themselves loose. I've been in contact with them, and they're going to expose. Well, let me put it this way: they did talk about murder goes on in the Watchtower. Now, the mafia is the same way. Do you know how long Jimmy Hoffa was missing? Did you? I mean,
Well, they know who killed him, Rick. They never found the body. I live in Michigan. I know where all
Right, but well, you tell me the point I'm trying to make with that.
Well, he went missing in '75. They've never found the body, Rick.
Yeah, who do you think did it? Who, well, I mean, are you? I mean, you're making an accusation here. They're not 100% sure of that.
Rick, he was involved. Rick, the mafia kills people. I don't understand. You keep comparing the Watchtower to the mafia.
Well,
can you name a name? Give me one name.
No, will you just slow? You just slow down.
Can't do that.
So who
did murder people, Rick? I don't know.
No. See, this is the only.
Name a name of
No,
somebody
this.
that you know for a fact the Watchtower murdered. And guess what? You can't give me a name. So
are you drinking?
I'm the irrational one, according to you people. But I'm done talking about this.
Are you drinking today? Are you drinking today, Mike? Are you drinking? This is what goes on when you drink.
Oh, no, Rick, I'm perfectly sober. But see, you won't give me a name because you don't have a name. Give me a name of somebody.
Well, I just see you're having a pet.
One name. Come on, give me one name, Rick. Give me one name.
Mike, why are you playing devil's advocate for the Watchtower, please? Can I ask that genuinely? What's in it for you? We know how they are. Look, every week for years and years and years, everyone comes in and tells horrific stories of how the Watchtower's treated them. We know this. What's your game in? I'm very confused as to why you're so, like, you've got this passion to defend them, or maybe the principle of it. But still, I'm just curious. Please enlighten us, please. Why playing devil's advocate for the Watchtower?
He's not going to answer. The reason why, I'll give you the answer. The reason why is because what he does is he drinks, and then what happens is he explodes. And there's a good example of it right there. He can't have a rational conversation. You can't. How do you reason with an unreasonable person? I just told him, can he say for a fact that the mafia killed Jimmy Hoffa? You can't say it. So, he's so willing to speak up and say, well, yes, indeed, that happened, but there's no real solid evidence. No one ever went to jail for it. So, how is he can defend the mafia, but how is it that he can be outspoken about it, but at the same time defend Watchtower? Doesn't make sense. Thank you, Maverick. Thank you. All right, we'll let Mike go. Just let him go for now. Yeah. So, Anne-Marie, what do you think? I mean,
hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, this is Stephen.
Yes,
I just wanted to say a couple things. One is when Anne-Marie mentioned a gut feeling, it just almost sent shivers down my spine. I have learned over the years to listen to my gut. And I can tell you stories after stories after stories of when something would happen, I'd get a gut feeling, and I would act on it and find out later that, yeah, that wasn't a place for me to be in. In fact, I used to be married, and I started getting a gut feeling that something was going on with my wife, that things were not as I thought that they were. And I'll just put it this way for the sake of time: my gut has never been wrong. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a subconscious, perception that picks up on things that maybe we don't see, maybe we don't have evidence for. I don't know how to explain it, but I can tell you one thing: it's never been wrong. And so I listen to it to this day. And I would tell anybody, if you've got a gut feeling about something, go and check it out. It's not going to hurt you. But for Anne-Marie to say she had a gut feeling that's what happened, I can pretty much tell you that's probably exactly what happened. The second thing, when we start talking about Watchtower, and we say to ourselves, what is Watchtower capable of doing? And there's one word that's kind of coming in common usage today, and it's called PSYOP, which is an abbreviation for psychological operation. And one of the things that I noticed, even as a young person, going into teenager, going into young adulthood, Watchtower seems to be obsessed with the devil. They talk about the devil probably as much as they talk about Jesus. They seem to talk about Jehovah the most. And then I think you could flip a coin from one day to the next in terms of which one do they talk about the most between Jesus and the devil. And when I got older and I started talking to other people, even women that I dated that went to church, and I would ask them, did your church talk about the devil? And they kind of looked at me, talk about the devil. I said, yeah. They're like, no, not really. We just kind of talk about the enemy, but that's just really anything that's making your life difficult or making your life challenging, anything that gets in your way, but not expressly the devil. But you guys can probably all sit back and in your mind think about many of the talks and such that you've heard.
Did you fucking push your walk down the stairs, cunt?
About the devil.
You dirty old fucking man. You fucking threw your walk.
Oh, okay. One of Rick's friends is barging in. So that's one thing. This organization is obsessed with the devil. Then when you think about the psychological aspect of it, how many times have you heard Watchtower go in depth about lying? I remember that god-awful talk Loesch gave not too many years ago when he went all in depth with lying and little lies and big lies and white lies. And the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, what are you talking about? A lie is a lie. A little kid knows what a lie is. It doesn't matter if it's a small lie. We are not supposed to lie. We're supposed to be telling the truth. You as an organization call yourself the truth. But here you are basically taking people through a psychological operation to desensitize them to lying so that when they hear the lies, they'll say, well, they did say in a talk that sometimes a little white lies and this and that, and it's okay if you're lying in behalf of God's organization. That's a psychological operation. And if you also sit back and think, how many times have you heard Watchtower talk about attacking character? You may not kill a person in a physical way, but you can kill them by attacking their character. I'm saying all of this to say that if an organization knows all of these things and has been preaching all of these things, they are conducting psychological operations. It's no great feat to just extend that one level and have a person disappear that you feel like is really causing problems for an organization. And it's so funny that you brought up Jimmy Hoffa, Mr. Farron, because I had always heard he was probably killed and maybe put inside of something full of concrete or whatever. What does Watchtower spend all their time doing? Construction. It would have been super easy to take a person and put them in something and pour concrete over them or dig it and put them in a hole and cover that with whatever. He could be right there buried at Watchtower for all of them. So we shouldn't take these things lightly. If an organization is conducting psychological operations right in front of you through their literature and through their talks, and you can factor in the music and all of this psychological stuff, what makes us think they couldn't take that small leap and kill somebody that they feel like is getting in the way of the organization? We shouldn't be that naive.
Exactly. And we can also ask Mike one question. Is there a plausible explanation besides the belief that Watchtower killed Johnny? Is there a plausible alternate explanation? Just because we don't have quote unquote proof or names or whatever, there are so many disappearances that have been actual murders committed by regular people.
Who wants the swearing? Who wants the...
Who's this? What's your name, brother?
No, what it is, Anne-Marie, is we have the people coming in trying to sabotage the show. So I'm sitting back here just blocking them out. Once in a while they come through a little bit.
Aww. Okay. Well, I just, we never know what's going to come on the show. And I think it's really a wonderful thing, Rick, that you provide this forum. And it's important that everybody get to say what they feel that they need to say. Even Mike, I'm sorry I blew up at him earlier. But the thing is, we have to understand that evil is capable of...
See, that's why I like trans women, because they don't have a fucking goddamn...
What's that?
Pay no attention to that, Anne-Marie. It's just these people trying to come in and sabotage. They're gonna sneak through a little bit. Then we do get rid of them. So don't worry about it.
Okay, I can't tell the difference. But anyway, if anybody wants to come in and comment or give their thoughts, like I said, it's a...
Yeah, hello, Anne-Marie.
Hi, is this Ken?
Yeah, this is Ken. Thanks for taking my call. It's going to be kind of repetitious what I said last time, but I think maybe a lot of people didn't hear it. Okay, for one thing, Johnny, I got two comments for Johnny, and then another case. As far as Johnny, I think people have reason to believe, and people feel that the Watchtower has done something to him. That is not the same as accusing somebody, outright and so forth. There, we have what happened to Johnny the Bethelite is suspicious and so forth, and everybody will agree with that.
The conference has been locked.
No, we'd like to know what happened to him and so forth, but we can't say for sure. And as Mr. Farron commented earlier on, say, Jimmy Hoffa, we can't say for sure what happened to him either, and everything like that. And then number two, really outrageous, these charges they made against Mr. Farron here. On that one case where the police had come to his door, everything was thoroughly investigated, and he cooperated with the police 100%. So that goes to show that there was, in his favor, he didn't have nothing to hide. Now, when the police come to his door, he could have said, no, you're not coming in here, you need a warrant and so forth, and he would have been in his constitutional rights. But he didn't. He made a choice on cooperating with him. He says, what's going on? And the Six Screens Network program was going on at the time and so forth. Everything was thoroughly investigated, and he was cleared by the police and so forth. So it's really outrageous of what the enemies are doing, to try to make the Six Screens Network look bad. I think the next thing that probably somebody's going to accuse me of is shoving down my wife and my mother-in-law down the stairs too. So that's really outrageous. Well, thank you for taking my call, and I'm sorry that these kind of things going on. I hope there is going to be an answer someday to what happened to Johnny the Bethelite and everybody else. But there is a lot of suspicious activities going on. So, well, thank you for taking my call, and God bless and be with you.
Well, thank you, Ken. And I just want to, you brought up something. In fact, I've been doing this program, Ken, for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you brought up something I want to share with the audience. Maybe they weren't quite sure what you were saying, but I'll assure them what happened. It was August 31st. It was a Saturday night. It was August 31st, 2021. And what happened is these callers, I say drunken Bethelites, whoever they were, they called the local police up here where I live in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, and they told them that I was holding Susan, my wife, hostage. That was the call. They were trying to sabotage our program. So what happened is they sent 4 police cruisers out to my house. And so anyways, it was like a SWAT team. They had all the SWAT gear on, and they started banging on my door during the program on a Saturday night. And so I went out there. I didn't know who it was because I've been threatened numerous times by people. So I wasn't going to open the door. So I looked through the peephole, and I had a wreath. Susan put a wreath on the door on the outside, and so I couldn't see through the wreath. All I could see is a gun pointing at me. So they said, just hold on one second. So they said, open the door. And I would not open the door. And consequently, they said, with the police, let us in. So I finally let them in, and they said that someone made a prank call. And these people are in trouble today, by the way, that did that. I believe the police did catch them and put them in big time trouble. It was a felony. And so they barricaded the whole area. They let nobody in the apartment complex. There was 4 cruisers. And then someone called up and said that my house was on fire. So they sent a fire truck down. So I had 4 cruisers, a fire truck. It looked like a terrorist attack. And it was all because someone made a prank call because we did the program and they didn't like it. That was the most dramatic time I've ever had on the 6 screens. It was unreal. But thank you, Ken, for bringing that up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Farron. So Okay, well, I'm going to sign off right now. So God bless and be with all of you and so forth. And let's take the next caller then.
Go ahead, Susan. Susan's next. Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
Well, I just wanted to also mention that they wouldn't leave until they checked me over and got me in a separate room away from you to find out if I wasn't being molested or hurt or beat up or whatever. And they had their SWAT gear on and their big Uzi rifles. I was a little nervous, but what I'm going to say is what I said today. Are you kidding? You got to be kidding. I said, I'm treated like a princess, like a queen, please. I mean, everything's just perfectly fine. And it came again, of course, that these guys were prank callers, and they are in trouble if they ever do it again. Because what they did is they got 2 police departments involved because there were so many involved. And they gave 2 addresses. They weren't sure where Rick lived. So they tied up a good number of officers for nothing. So it goes to show you, even though this is what they want to do is just cause havoc, and if people want, and you know that some people said that Rick pulled this as a prank to get more listeners. You've got to be kidding me. So, they can do what they want. If they were listening, they could have heard it over the radio a couple of years ago. So I just wanted to add that.
Well, thank you, Susan. Let's go to 607. 607 wants to say something. Go ahead, 607.
Yeah, this is Titus Jackson out of Binghamton, New York. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Listen, first off, what everybody else listening knows exactly what that definition is and what they did to you. It's called swatting. That's what they do to a lot of gamers, a lot of streamers, is they swat them as a way to draw attention to them, to the public. Everybody's saying that there's something going on. Now they know where you're at. That's what happened to you, and it was unnecessary. But the reason I wanted to call in is because you have been on for years, and I ran into you probably about 3 years ago when I kept you saved on my website from here because I was born and raised. Well, I was 3 years old when I was baptized with Jehovah's Witnesses in Elmira. But I'm going to get right to my point. I need everybody that you can, Rick, and you need to continue to pass the word and do what you do. But pass this around if you can, please. Now, I left when I was 27 years old. I came from a family of 9. I have a relative that did go to Bethel. He was there for almost 15 years. And when they sent him away from there, he realized on his Social Security report where you get credits, for how long you've been working, there's 15 years that was missing in his life. He couldn't qualify for Social Security disability or anything. Because you forget when you go to Bethel and you're working, they don't give you the credit for those work hours that you put in. They don't. So it's just sad. But the reason why I called in, and I was hoping to get on, so I'm going to make this quick if I can. If everyone can go to Google or any search engine that they have and just type in these words, where was the first Kingdom Hall built? I just learned this a year ago and didn't say anything because I was that pissed off. You type it in the search engine, where was the first Kingdom Hall built? Now, 99.9% of us would say, oh, probably Pennsylvania or probably New York. You will find out it was built, and they did a dedication and everything in the whole Masonic realm. In Hawaii, the year was 1935. 1935. Hawaii was not a statehood of our United States until 1959. So that gave them permission to do whatever the hell they wanted to do out there because it was international lands. If you think of the much money as they made all those years, not everybody could afford to get on a boat and get over there and be part of whatever the hell they were doing. But guess who could? All the ones that have all the money outside of the religion. So if you want bodies missing and sacrifices that it could have gone on, that did probably go on, it happened there. It happened there. We had those trains that used to have all those kids. Look at the years on that. Where did a lot of those kids go? We don't know if the top brass of Jehovah's Witnesses at the time grabbed some of those bodies and took them over there, and those kids were never found again. You put it past them that they would never do that, but yet this is the same group of people that claim God is watching everything. He's going to give an answer. He's going to take care of you. Jehovah's going to take care of you. But at the same time, a child's being raped in another room. So we need to stop crying for all the defenses that we gave those people when they took more lives away from us than we'll ever know. We need to understand. There's no reason for me to hide something like this, but I found this out just doing my own research because my parents are still stuck being Jehovah's Witnesses. That's by their choice. But they had 9 kids. Only 1 is still in. They all can't be wrong. 95% of the crap that the bad ones doing Jehovah's Witnesses is because they've done things to people and they know Jehovah's Witnesses will protect them. We know these things. It hurts. That's the part that's hardest to deal with, is that it hurts us. It hurts our hearts because they told you to love this God with all your heart, your soul, your power, your strength. They went down all these different. We know all these studies. We know these things. But we come to find out God can't be loving Jehovah's Witnesses and hating everybody else. But that's what we had to tell everybody, right? Rick, you agree. You did not deserve to get swatted for what you were doing. You were doing the best thing you could, no different than a lot of other YouTubers that are out here that have been trying to do their best. It sucks because we're dealing with a God that's also the devil. My goodness, you know the saddest part of all this is that we forget how racist Jehovah's Witnesses used to be back in the day. You look at the highest number of members that show up right now in their organizations are minorities, whether we like it or not. I'm sorry for the energy and the zeal that I have in my voice, and I'm sorry for talking as much as I am, but listen, I've gone through things no different than a lot of us, and a lot of you listening. You've gone through things that there's a little bit of supernatural stuff involved. There's a lot of, well, why did that happen? It doesn't make sense. Well, what about the ones that we lost because they just did not take blood and could have saved their lives? They come to find out all these years, even Morris isn't in there anymore because his ass got caught. You know, my father used to tell me something. He used to always say, you know, in life, you can be sorry for getting in trouble or you can be sorry for getting caught.
Right.
These bitches ain't even sorry for getting caught. Remember, the lawyers did not go to Bethel. Bethel is just what? Elizabeth. When we do the math and put this stuff together, we realize, holy crap, we've been sacrificing our families to this guy. Yeah. We sacrifice all of our money to this guy. There's at the top of Jehovah's Witnesses, what is the chances? What is the chances that 100% of them are Jewish? What's the chances? That's not important. Remember, in our Bibles, it was supposedly the Jews that turned Jesus in. This is like every Christian in the world would have a problem with Jehovah's Witnesses or Jewish people because they turned in Jesus. That makes sense, but it doesn't. The math ain't there for us as people that really care about life. The very top of Jehovah's Witnesses, they're Jesuit order. And that's why they're allowed to get away with the crap that they get away with. It's from putting their new place on one King's Way. What does that mean? It's in Warwick. There's a place called Warwickshire over there in Europe. That's where they got a lot of your weirdest devil worshiping people from. Shakespeare came from there. Come on, man. This is not hard. It just sucks because we buried a lot of people in this religion because they did not take blood. They died so-called faithful with God. And these are the same people that would not give back all these deeds and the properties that they took from people when they said it was going to be the end of 75. And I know 75 really well because I was 3 years old. And my mother was pregnant with my younger sister, and they got baptized together. They got baptized because in a few short months, the world was supposed to be over in 75. So my father wanted to make sure that we were going to be okay. That's what happened.
Well, brother, I really appreciate your passion, and that was well said. You're right on target with that. Thank you for those comments.
Can I make one last thing, please? I'll leave everybody alone because I care about everybody. I was raised to care about all races. just like a lot of people in religion, because we're taught to turn the other cheek. We're taught to turn the other cheek, so that all the atrocities that could ever be done against us will be done on the other side of the cheek where we ain't looking. We ain't looking. But yet God sees everything. Is he a watcher God? Is he one of those things that were here before God? He's spiritual now and he's stuck. We grew up with this Jehovah God. We grew up with him. You know what's sick is this, and I'll end it.
The conference has been unlocked.
Was a blue square with JW.org in the middle, right? And yet the Jewish symbol is the blue square. We never did the math on it, but when you find out that it was C.T. Russell that went to a Freemason meeting with our boy Judge Rutherford on a train to Philadelphia, then it'll make a lot of sense to us, because we don't want to still be connected to the Freemason stuff. We really don't. But we are fully connected to the Jesuit order. Every member of Jehovah's Witnesses is really known as a junior warden. You can look that word up. That came out of the mouth of Abraham Lincoln. He gave a speech at the funeral of Bowling Green, who I believe he probably was in a gay relationship with. Believe it or not, I'm sorry. That's why the one brother that went to Bethel was talking about all the different gay things they do right there at Bethel. But we lost members to this same God. So we have to fight this fight together, guys. We have to stay strong. And I know it hurts that we still got family members in there that we can't get out, no matter what we say. As the world crushes down on them, all we can do is be there for them. It sucks because they weren't there for us. But we need to be there for them because the world's crushing down on all of us right now. All right, I'm sorry for being loud. I'm sorry for the energy. You can call this number back anytime you want. The name is Titus Jackson. That's my witness name that I used to have. I just love your work, Rich, and it's so hard to get through. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Titus. No, right. As Dick Borgie said, your passion. You have a right to have that passion. You have a right to be outspoken like that. My goodness gracious, more and more ex-witnesses should feel that too. But no, we like your commitment. We like your passion. Don't you ever change, brother. You're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, Titus, just a quick thought. You know, starting with C.T. Russell, that's where your pedophilia started in the Watchtower. Fooling around with a 14-year-old girl. It's documented, so Mike won't be saying
goddamn clit that's kind of stretched out. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, so pedophilia has been running through the Watchtower organization.
The conference has been locked.
Early inception with C.T. Russell. Thank you.
And we know about the Freemasons.
My wife just mentioned, and we certainly know the Freemason connection.
We do. The problem is that it's just like it's in the cops, it's in everything around us still today. It's never changed with them. We just think it has, but it's never changed with them. That's what, listen, we don't even know how many life insurance policies that they sign in our names. While we gave up all of our Social Security, all that information when we tried to apply for Bethel way back then. We don't know what they did with our info. They still have it, but nothing stopped them to fill out applications for life insurance so that if you die on the outside, no matter what happens to you, they cash that out.
Well, they certainly sold our Kingdom Halls. Same idea, same greed.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Brother, were you born in? Were you born in, brother, to the Watchtower, or no?
I think it was.
What was that?
I was asking you, dear, if you were born in, or were you a convert to the?
Yeah. So I was 2 years old when. Excuse me. I was 3 years old, and I had two older twin sisters. I still do. They're still around. We're all out of the organization, but so my sisters are 3 years older than I am. Then there was myself. I was born in 1972 during Hurricane Agnes, so we got hit with a flood the year I was born. But I was 3 years old, and my mom and my father got baptized while they were pregnant with my younger sister, who's 2 years younger than me.
Right.
And she was born in 75.
Yeah. Right. Well, you know, honey, we really appreciate your comments. You're always welcome, and you have a lot of insight. We have, Rich and I, and many others, but my grandparents were very deeply involved in the Freemasons. My mom's parents, my grandfather was, my grandmother was an Eastern Star, and he was, what's the other one?
Yes, ma'am. Listen, I swear to you both, I'd love to have you guys call me off of the live stream, and you can record the recording so you can use the information together that we've all had. But the reason why I say this is because you guys have an outlet. I really don't. I've been an inlet. So you guys have an opportunity to reach out. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because of one last thing I need to tell you. We all know that the letter J is only 500 years old, and they say, well, the Y was before that. Yes, all the vowels were substitute words that they could use in spelling. That's why spelling is so weird, because they can trick with anything they want with it. But it's just so ironic that we're all going to be judged, supposedly, right? All of us going to be judged. We have the 144,000 judges sitting on thrones, supposedly helping Jesus judge all of us, correct? But in the Bible, supposedly the word judge or judgment is said 191 times. Supposedly written before Jesus' birth, or even just shortly after it. But in the dictionary, again, you can go to Google and just find the word in etymology online, the word judge, and you'll see that it was created in the 1300s. That's the medieval times. King James used the word, but it was not an old word. It's only old in the 1300s. There was no word for it before then. Look up the oldest word connected to it is Greek. And then you'll understand in this country why you could look at the, what government building is where all the judges are, the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, there's two giant beings sitting in chairs. Two, and you got one holding onto a little person. And in her other hand, she's got the book of the law. That's still the Egyptian stuff. But yet the Egyptian stuff didn't have the word law until the 1300s. So either this stuff really all happened recently, or it's all bullshit. I'm sorry for swearing. If the word judgment does not go back all the way to when supposedly God's people wrote the thing 191 times in their Bible, then someone's lying. And it's about money and control. So I really wish you and Rick could ever find it in your heart to give me a call, because I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. I've been working on this for a while only because we are trying to help our family members survive this, and it's not looking good. We're dealing with the strongest arm of what you would call the devil. I would say Baphomet. You got all there's all connectivity there. It's all there. I think if the true people learn that if they take their faces out of the freaking book, follow what we need. That's why they said it lasts forever, because they know you ain't gonna never take yourself out of that book. But what broke my heart is when the word judgment has only been created for since the 1300s. Anybody can look this shit up and challenge it. Then we have to question ourselves and say, well, then what have we been doing this whole time?
Well, what we're going to do, Titus? Well, what we're going to do, Titus? Now, I have your telephone number here. I won't give it out over the air, but would you like to talk to some other ex-witnesses as well?
It's hard on this phone because you're breaking up a little bit, and plus there's other noises, so it's kind of hard for me to hear you. But I missed what you said. Say it again, please.
I'm saying that I do have your telephone number here. I won't give it out over the air right now. But if someone wanted to get a hold of you, could I give them your number and they can talk with you?
Yes, sir. Look, you should be able to see my phone because I called your phone, so you should be able to see my number.
I do see it. Yep, I do see it. I have your number. Yep.
Please write that number down. I can log in and meet with you on the computer. It's no problem. I can just figure that out. My son's high tech. I'm not. But when I tell you some of these things, and again, we're learning this together. It's not me trying to act like I'm a freaking guru. I'm sick and tired of the world being led by these freaking spirits.
Well, no.
They tell you not to think.
Well, no.
You have to go back to the past. They always tell you that shit, but yet all the ones that we've been serving have been in the past.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what we'll do is one of these times, what we'll do, Titus, is get you on and let you really tell your whole story. I would love that to happen. I've got a lot of people that want to speak up and talk, and stay on the line with us because I'm sure they might want to ask you some questions. All right?
No problem. Listen, let me just say this last thing, and I appreciate it. I'm going to mute myself right now, but you live in the land of the giants. There's more giants in this country than there is in the entire globe. How did that happen? How did this become the new world? But yet all these giant buildings, everything has been, it's all making sense now. But it's not supposed to be about sense. It's supposed to be about survival. We should be enjoying life because that's what was given to us. Not death. Not the threat of death. Not ones with power controlling us at a young age so that when we're older, we don't know what the hell happened to us. But that's what we have. That's what we're trying to survive to. And this is nothing. If they get rid of Social Security and everything else, listen, I like Trump. I never voted. I never will. But I like him. The leave's a little harsh right now because there's some weird crap going on around everything. Remember, no one wants to call him the Antichrist. No one does. No one does. But everybody wants to throw that word out there. Listen, I'm sorry, Rick. I'm so sorry. I got to shut up.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's well, thank you, Titus, for coming on and being with us. I love your passion, and I got your number here. And anyone wants it, I'll be probably calling you myself. So I want to talk further with you. You got a lot to offer, and thank you for coming on and speaking with the audience here today. Thank you very much.
Well, I never knew you. I believe that's your wife just put you on the phone too. Is that what that is? Because that's just awesome. So I never knew that. But if you guys, I'm going to wait for your call back. If you call me back, I'm not going to bug you. So if you call me back, I'll pick up. We'll have a clearer line, and we can just sit and talk. But it's so important, and I know that you can get this word out there because you've been going for 20 years.
Well, thank you.
We didn't have enough core information so you can turn around and say, these bitches lied. We got them now, and go after it.
Well, thank you, Titus.
In Hawaii, that we got the technology now that we can search the grounds. We can get in places.
Yeah.
We can get a search warrant for that. But why build it out there when you stole the land from the crew that was there first, too?
Well, it's all making progress. Thank you very much, Titus. Thank you for coming on with us. Let's go to 540. It looks like 540. What do you have to say?
Happy Sunday. Titus made an interesting point when he talked about the insurance policies at Bethel, and just go to Wikipedia and key in something called Dead Peasants Insurance Policy. And some corporations do this, and it's not the family that gets the insurance, but it's the employer. So even though they're not paying wages, they do take out this dead peasant policy on their people. So that was a very valid point. And then when he's talking about law means land, air, and water. And often the word law was used, but maybe not the word judge. And often the word code was used, as in the Code of Hammurabi, which is identical to the Ten Commandments. So that's all I know about that. But he did have some interesting points.
Yes, he did. Anne-Marie, you still there with us?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that Pixie came on and clarified that and verified that, because I have heard and read that Watchtower does take, or at least has taken, life insurance policies out on their Bethelites. They see us as fodder, free labor, free drones, just everything they can to use and abuse and suck the life out of every single faithful slave.
The conference has been unlocked.
For their organization, even guilting and trying to get old people in the organization to sign over their property, their life savings, their jewelry, their paintings, everything. They've done it and done it and done it any way that they can take and get whatever will benefit them from the rank and file is what they do. How many times have we heard and read of old people being coerced into signing over power of attorney to the elders take over everything, put them in a nursing home and leave them. Maybe they'll visit them a few times, but they just leave them, abandoning them because they've gotten what they wanted. They sell their house, they sell everything. This is what they do. Not only
Me personally, I like water sports, golden showers and stuff like that.
I'm sorry?
Just the spam call is coming in, Anne-Marie.
And we know the disaster scams. You know, there's some place where there was a natural disaster.
The conference has been locked.
Well, they help their brothers and sisters BS with a capital BS. Go out there and, oh, brother, do you have insurance on your property? Well, we'll fix your roof for free. Well, we'll repair your damage to your house for free. And they go ahead and do it. And it's sloppy work. And they use the brothers to work for free, to go out there on their own dime, drive out there, have to figure out how they're going to sleep, how they're going to get food. And then when it's all said and done, they're instructed to tell the Jehovah's Witness homeowner, now we fix your place for free. So when your insurance check comes in, don't forget the Watchtower. It's just any way they can scam more money and property and free labor out of these people. We have to keep exposing them for what they are. Ephesians 5 through 14, especially verses 10 through 14. New World Translation, look it up, people. This is what Rick is dedicated to, exposing them for what they are. And the only way we can do it is to keep telling the truth about this wicked organization that has the gall to refer to their wicked organization as being the truth. They are everything but the truth. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. And I'll tell you what, we had a lot of people calling in. I had to kind of lock the call there numerous times because of spammers coming in and trying to disrupt the program. But anyways, we're going to go to the news, Anne-Marie. We got some Sunday news to talk about. So we'll go to JW World News coming up. But thank you, Anne-Marie, for having the program today. And we want to thank those that did call in and speak up. We really appreciate it. But we'll be back in 2 weeks with JW World News.
I'd like to talk to you about the Watchtower in Australia.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a huge presence of Watchtower here in Australia. So specifically out near Preston's, they've got a huge compound there. And there is a lot of suspicious activity that goes on there. I think that the FBI needs to come in and fuck them all in the ass and fuck you and fuck your wife, fuck your mother, fuck your father.
Yeah.
Rick, do you mind if I close the show?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anne-Marie. Yep.
I just want to go
tell
ahead.
y'all some happy anniversary, Rick and Susan. I just want to tell Happy.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dallas.
Thank you, Dallas.
Appreciate that, Dallas. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for coming into the show. We never know what's going to be brought up, but we do have the opportunity to speak freely. This is the show for Six Screen Sunday. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses share their Watchtower story. Today is March 23rd, 2025. We want to acknowledge again the beautiful couple, Rick and Susan. It's their 11th wedding anniversary, and we love them. We want to thank Susan for coming in, and of course, Rick and Dick Borgie and Mike, Maverick, Grace, Stephen, Ken, Curtis, also known as Titus. We want to thank Constance and Dick Borgie, of course. I hope I didn't forget his name. And Pixie and Dallas. Thank you all for coming in. It was a great show. We need to go over now. Back to our brother Rick and JW World News Sunday Edition. Rick?
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. So everyone stay on our channel. Don't go anywhere. We got JW World News coming up next right here on the Six Screens Network. So we're going to end this here. Thank you for coming in, but just stay right where you are. JW World News will be up in 1 minute.